Hello, this is John with Theology Ed. This is part one of the Donnie Darko Explained series. Donnie Darko, I didn't really know it existed, honestly, until earlier this year when commenters said, you need to check out Donnie Darko. And I said, what's Donnie Darko? Had no clue. And finally, I found out it was a movie and I looked into it. And I really think this is if you want to think of it, the original I Pet Goat. Not that it's I Pet Goat 1. We already know that that was the book that Bush was reading to the classroom during the 9/11 attacks, The Pet Goat. But this is like I Pet Goat 2, except before the first 9/11 attacks. And what it does is it really lays out a lot of the big plan, not just about the first 9/11 attacks, but the relationship between the first and the second 9/11 attacks, the one that happened in September of 2001, and the ones that are still forthcoming. So it shows the relationship between them, how they're viewing it, how they view the period of time between that relationship as an unstable period of time that's temporary and has to end. There's a lot going on and a lot of symbolism. Donnie Darko is I'll say as well thought out as I Pet Goat 2, except it's 2 hours long, which is why it's taken me so long to put up a video here. I've been really working hard at understanding Donnie Darko, and I've made a lot of progress. I'm really excited about it. I think my understanding of this whole period and what we're expecting, should be expecting over the next months and years, is much improved because of this film. And I was hoping to put it all together into this one video, and it was just too much, too big. And the further I dug, the more I felt like there were areas I didn't understand as well as I need to, and I need to keep researching. So I was going to be delaying a video, not putting off creating a video for a long time when I already have a lot to say. So I said, well, let's just make it a series. It won't be as long as the I Pet Go 2 series, which is already 22 parts, and I still plan to do some work on that. But it's going to be probably at least 2 or more part series, and hopefully is as enlightening as the I Pet Goat 2 series has been. I know I've learned a lot working on the I Pet Goat 2 series with you all and everybody's comments, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot that we can do together on this one as well. So let's go ahead and dig in. We're looking at the poster. Of course, we see the bunny. This is the buck rabbit. It is a buck. His name is Frank, so it's male. Donnie Darko was a film that was released in 2001, just before the 9/11 attacks, except on 1/19/2001. So 9/11 backwards, right? So you get the 1/19/2001. This was released on January 19th, 2001, a clear indication that it's looking at the 9/11 attacks, and there's more than just that throughout the film. It has an explicit countdown that almost becomes its slogan: 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds. That is when the world will end. So this is a countdown to the end of the world, so to speak. It's not the very end of the world, even in the film, but the idea is that it is the end of a world, and that is what it is about. And we'll dig in. So let's do a quick synopsis, quick overview, not digging into any of the mysterious stuff here, very superficial, but so we know what's going on. Donnie Darko is a teenage boy. First off, if you've not watched the film, you probably should watch it. I'm going to totally spoil it throughout these videos and destroy any fun in watching it the first time. But it may actually help you understand the film too. I know it was a tricky one to get through. Anyways, so Donnie is an adolescent kid, right? So he's a teenage boy. He is troubled. He sleepwalks at night. He wakes up in various places around his house or even the city, and sometimes pretty far away. One night when he was out, a jet engine fell into his room, crushed his room. He wasn't in the bed because he was in a tangent universe, parallel universe, tangent universe. And in that universe, he had left his bed because a bunny, or the buck, called him. Frank, the buck, called him out and told him, come here, and you've got this period of time before the end of the world. Now, during this period of time, this 28 days, we spent a lot of time with various characters, most of whom are related to the school that he attends, a private school, Middlesex. And so we have these 5 characters are important. This is Jim Cunningham, I believe is his name. He is the self-help guru. He's got this whole attitudinal belief self-help system, and this teacher at the school is like a gym teacher, I think a health teacher. I believe her name is Kitty. I forget, but anyways, she comes across as very dogmatic, simple-minded, black and white. Loyal follower of Jim Cunningham. So they're like religiously involved in this system of help. And allegorically, they are going to represent the church, basically, as I'll show in future videos. But they are very important figures in the film. That they are Donnie Darko can't stand them. Okay, and there's some scenes that he burns Jim Cunningham's house down, and he tells her to shove her the exercises, not physical exercises, but this self-help exercises up her anus, quote unquote. And he gets in trouble and he gets expelled from some removed from after school activities or suspended from them or whatever. This is the principal. He's trying to sort of be, please everybody, but he ends up being pressured into doing things their way more than the other teacher's way. This is the science teacher and the literature teacher. They're sort of representing the intellectual, secular side, as the video or the film portrays them, and they come across as more level-headed and intelligent. Okay, this teacher helps Donnie Darko understand time travel, which is a big part of the film. And in the literature class, they read some books that are going to be informative as well for us as we try to understand what's going on. But we're going to get to those books. But these are some of the main characters in the film. You see the bunny is going to lead Donnie to do a variety of things that would be considered criminal. But the purpose is to help Donnie get through this period in the tangent universe, so that after the tangent universe, there's no black hole that destroys all existence. He has to sort of save the world. And so as a part of saving the world, he's going to obey Frank the Buck, and he's going to cause a water main leak that floods the school. He's going to put this axe in the head of the mongrel. That's the name of that's the mascot of the school. And he's going to burn down Jim Cunningham's house. As you can see, he's burning this buck. We've got a burning buck in the film. Okay, and so at the end, because Donnie did what he was supposed to do, basically, he returns the airplane through this portal back to the real universe, and, well, Donnie dies, but at least everybody else lives. He saves the world. That's very big picture. We're going to dig in. I wanted to make sure that was there for people who've already seen it. That will remind them. If you've not seen the film, that's quick. You should watch it so that you can follow along in the series and understand that better. Now, let's go ahead and dig in. Okay, we're going to look at the very first sequences, the series of events. So Donnie wakes up. He goes back to his house at dinner that night. There's an argument at the table. He's very angry. He hasn't been taking his medicine. His sister points it out in front of his parents, and he's on this medicine is for mental health, and so he goes to his room upset. He's reading. His mom comes in. He tells her get out, and he calls her a name on the way out. And so it's a sort of an unhappy series of events at the beginning, but he does finally go ahead. He takes his medicine. Okay. You can, if you're interested in looking into numbers, you can go through there. It was from July 24th, 88 appears to be when he actually got the medicine, and whatever. But you can look through that if that's something you want to try to find more out about. I mean, you got this series of numbers 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 8, 5, 6. There's some interesting stuff there that numerologist types can probably find. Okay, but anyways, so he takes his medicine and he goes to bed. And then we see midnight. Of course, that doesn't always represent doomsday, but in this case, it's going to be a doomsday time, right? It's representing doomsday. This is midnight. He is asleep at midnight, but right after that, we see the screen. It shows the date. So we see this going to be October 2nd. But when we look at the time of the video, see October 2nd, 1988. In the film, that is at 9 minutes and 11 seconds. This is the date on which the plane crashes into the house and does the killing. Okay, so the jet engine will destroy the home and kill Donnie on this date, which is not the date of the actual event. The time of the film is. This is the copy I have. You can double check if you have this at home. Make sure that my time is right. But I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. So we have a 9/11 on October 2nd. Now, at this point, we get a black screen, and we hear the rabbit saying, "Wake up." And then the screen goes to these eyes. Okay, this eye. And the eye, you see the pupil will dilate. The sequence goes here, it's getting larger, very large, and then we see Frank the rabbit come through the eye. That's what the flashing rabbit is. He's time traveling here, and this is a portal. The eye is representing a portal, and we have a water ripple afterwards. The eye is is representing water, and we'll find out later on in Donnie Darko. To have time travel, you need to have these portals or vortexes or whatever, and you have to have water with metal. I don't know in this scene where the metal is. Maybe they're not showing you everything. This is very early in the film. You get a better idea of the relationship of the metal to the eye in a few other scenes later, but including a gunshot to the eye and also a knife to the eye, which are important in opening up these vortexes for time travel. And anyway, so we have the eye and the rabbit coming in to interact with him. So he is going to get up. Now we're going to get our first really interesting sequence here. When he wakes up, he turns the light on. We see that from outside. And we look in the room, and here he is. He's going to lean into the light. We're going to get our first eclipse. You see it? He goes from here to there to there. He is eclipsing the light, and we have the all-seeing eye here in the position of Sirius. Now, in the familiar symbol that we see in iPetCode 2 and other places. Now, Vigilant Citizen has a book in which he explains a little bit about this. As stated by Albert Pike above, the Egyptian god Horus and the star Sirius are often associated in Masonic symbolism. The Eye of Horus, or the all-seeing eye, is often depicted surrounded by glittering of light of Sirius. So what you're looking at here is a representation of Sirius with the eclipse. That is exactly what we see here, 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 there, there. Okay, we've looked at that. If you've not seen my You Should Have Left analysis, trailer analysis, I discussed that. Also, it comes up a lot in the iPetCode 2 series. But what we have is a depiction of an eclipse. Here's the eclipse. She's the moon, representing the moon over the sun as an annular eclipse. And there's Sirius, which goes to July, August, when Sirius is near enough to the sun that you can't see it. Here, the yin-yang is representing an eclipse that's missing its little bit of yang because the little bit of sun is out here. So we have the big sun and the little sun, Sirius, about to be swallowed up by the big sun. That's why Sirius goes out of, you can't see Sirius because it's too close to the sun. The light of Sirius is swallowed up by the light of the sun, and so on. And so we get this repeatedly. We saw that in the You Should Have Left trailer as well. She represents the eclipse, and they made her do a dog hand gesture up here with her shadow, and she's barking ruff, 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 because Sirius is the dog star. And so we get the same alignment there. Interestingly, there's even another one in that. I'll go ahead and show that really quickly. This scene, when he eclipses the sun, remember, He looks at himself. He's no longer one and the same. He's not a true reflection anymore. But how do they have him looking here? They have one eye shaded out, and we have the one eye looking at him. It's like the second sun, okay, looking at him. And so we have the alignment, again, the eclipse, and a representation of the all-seeing eye, Sirius, here. Okay, so now we go up here, and we have the same thing here. We have the eclipse, him in front of the sun, with Sirius. Sirius, Sirius. Okay, so we've got it everywhere, as well as here. So we have, in Donnie Darko, 19 years ago, over 19 years ago, in January 2001 when it was released, made in 2000, I'm sure is when they were producing it, okay? That was already the symbol that they were using to represent the beginning of this series. Now, what happens in IPECO 2 after we have that alignment, the eclipse and Sirius move into position, all that? We end up with the U.S. divided. So there's your doomsday clock again, just like we have in Donnie Darko, and we have the flag torn in half, and we're seeing the division of the United States. Now look what happens in Donnie Darko. He's going to start to walk out of the room, and we get this angle where we see a U.S. flag at the top, and they don't just catch it for a second. They stop there. He leaves, and they stay on the U.S. flag, and we've got this poster behind it. Now this poster is interesting and informative. Note the jet engine is going to fall right here. Later on at the end of the film, they show the jet engine hitting, and you see the flag and the poster flying away and all that, right? You see this being destroyed. So this is a representation of the U.S. being a target here. Watch what that poster is. That poster is the Swan Song Records poster. That is a Led Zeppelin record label from the 1970s into early 80s, 74 to 83. It's now defunct. But if you look closely, here it is. It's upside down. It's the exact same thing. That's what we're looking at. That is a fallen angel that is eclipsing the sun. The hair looks like the dark moon or the black sun, and you got some sun back there. So we are seeing a representation of eclipse with a fallen angel coming, right? And it's called the Swan Song, or Swan Song Records. It's the end. This is the end of it. That's all you got left. The Swan Song is your last song. Okay, it's like it's your farewell. And so this is the farewell or the end of the United States being represented, associated with this eclipse, going all the way back to 2001 January when Donnie Darko was released. Now, as Donnie Darko walks out of the room, he's being called by Frank the bunny, saying, come closer, come here, or whatever it is. And he keeps walking towards him. He's sleepwalking. As he walks in this room, he stops here, and the TV is on, but static. His dad had fallen asleep watching TV. And what's on it? The Star-Spangled Banner in a broken, muddled way because of the static. It's through the static. And so it's, and the rockets will, it's this part. And the rockets will, oh man. I should have written it out, huh? And the rockets will, I don't know, blare, bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. It reminds me of Frank Drebin singing in Naked Gun. It's a good thing I don't get asked to do that. But anyway, so there's the Star-Spangled Banner, and it's being destroyed and ruined in a sense by the static and it's not very clear anymore. So again, with the U.S. flag being represented here, the swan song of the U.S., on his way out, passing in front of the Star-Spangled Banner, which is being played through static and is almost impossible to hear. It's like it's being destroyed, okay? He finally goes out the house, and he walks to a golf course where he finally meets Frank. And Frank here is going to say 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, 12 seconds. That is when the world will end. And notice that before Frank, the bunny, the buck, we have, this is a golf course. This is a putting green here. This is the green, whatever hole. And he is, this is a nice place to land. If you were golfing, you'd want to go this direction. You don't want to probably go on this side because of the sand trap. The sand trap is a barrier, it's an obstacle to get to the pin, the buck gets in the way. Things get nasty after the buck, before the buck they look easy. Very similar to the rabbit on the wall in the classroom, where we have to the left of it, the orderly nice grass, and to the right of it, the chaotic vines and ivy. Well, here we have similar pattern. Stuff looks pretty good and nice and easy over here. This side looks tough, looks messy, looks hard. You don't want to get trapped in there. Now, this is also very interesting because one of the things we've been talking about so far in a lot of videos is June 21st through July 5th, very important period ritually. Those dates are important to them clearly. There's even probably going to, we've already seen, there's things happening. It's like laying a foundation. But even here, the buck doesn't mark when it happens, does it? The buck shows up, and what's he say? The otherworld's coming in 28 days. Okay? He doesn't say it's right now. And so when we look at this, this is going back not just to this year. In 2001, you had the same sequence. You had an eclipse a total eclipse in that case, on June 21st, and the buck moon was July 4th as well. July 4th, July 5th, I believe. July 4th, just before midnight. I don't remember exactly, but it was the same night because that's why you had a new moon on June 21st. The buck moon has to come 14 days later in July. Okay, so what you have then is this buck, and the event did not happen right on it. It just didn't. It happened months later on September 11th. And I think we're in for the same thing, honestly. I think we may have some more stuff. We may see more rioting. We may see events, and perhaps something big will happen. But it sure looks like the buck, even here, is warning you of what's coming after him. Just like the buck in the classroom on the wall is looking to the months later in the year with anger. He only gets a little tack or a bullet hole next to his ear. And interestingly, this buck also has an ear that looks damaged. He has one ear that stands erect and strong, and the other one goes up here and folds over like it's been damaged or injured. Okay? So we do get that imagery here. But the buck is fine. The world's not ending here. He's just saying it's coming. The buck stands in a position of warning. Now, so at this time, while he's talking to Donnie, and Donnie's listening to him tell about the end of the world, back home, the jet engine is falling in the room and startling his family. Now, I should say something about this number, this time period, 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, 12 seconds. This number is not just some arbitrary number they picked. It is based off the sidereal lunar month time. The sidereal lunar month is 27 days, 7 hours, 43 minutes, 11 seconds. If you look closely, every one of these values is off by 1 over here. So sidereal month, 27 days, add 1, 28. Sidereal month, 7 hours, take away 1 hour, 6 hours. 43 minutes, take away a minute, 42 minutes. 11 seconds, add 1 second, 12 seconds. You see? And so we have here a clear evidence that this is not just a number they threw together. It is clearly based off an existing known value. And you know what? I meant to put my source for that because I didn't think of that. I hope I can track it down. I don't even know that I can track it down. I've seen it in a couple places. But don't give me credit for that. You can look around online. You'll see other people have said that before me. But the idea here is this number is not just an arbitrary number. It does also add up if you add these values up, and they're even set up like a math problem here, right? Just add them up. You get 88. 88 is an important number, and the 8s come up throughout Donnie Darko repeatedly. Shaking My Head Productions has talked a lot about the number 88. I've heard it there a lot. We see that this film is set in the year 1988. The 88s come up in other places. 88 is a number of that's used by white supremacists and neo-Nazis. And the reason is H is the 8th letter of the alphabet. So 88 is like HH, which is like Heil Hitler. And so if you go over here in white nationalism and supremacism, neo-Nazis use number 88 as an abbreviation for the Nazi salute Heil Hitler. The letter H is the 8th of the alphabet and so on. And here's an example of Nazi graffiti with the swastika and 88. That should be disturbing, and it is, especially in light of the fact that, as we saw in my last video that I posted, I think at part 22 of the iPad Go 2 series, related to Rex 84 and FEMA and the suspension of the Constitution, and in case you have race riots, that they have camps where they'll suspend the Constitution and haul off minorities into these camps. And to see that in this film, already approximately 20 years ago, probably when it was made 20 years ago, it was having this repeated use of a neo-Nazi white supremacist symbol throughout the whole film, as far as the time setting, 1988, as well as the main number adding up to it, and 8's coming up in various places, like Donnie is the 8th person who will be doing some handwriting to see if he's a suspect in a crime, or a crime that happened with the burning down of Jim Cunningham's home. It says just after 8. Okay, the 8's come up over and over again. It's disturbing because we're already seeing an association right now with the riots and the potential that the U.S. government will suspend the Constitution, declare martial law, and crack down on minorities and the black population rioting, and of course also other people who would be out rioting with them. Okay, and so that's concerning, and it's just I was thinking about this. I was like, you know what, that's troubling and worth mentioning. Okay, so that's what I know about that number. It is also potentially, we're going to have to watch and wait and see. It could mean that literally 28 days after the buck moon, or after Sirius disappears, so 28 days after, somewhere between July 3rd and July 5th, perhaps that's when the attacks happen. I don't know. I doubt that, but that would put it in early August, basically, from July 5th. And in Operation Blackjack, for example, the attacks happen at 8:03 a.m., which would be an 8/3. You also could have it start when? October 2nd, which would put it around October 30th this year, which is where the heads collide in the classroom calendar, right at the end of October and November, which is a date where you would have Day of the Dead celebrations and symbolism like that in iPad Go 2. Okay, so there are various ways to apply the number that could get you close to a date that's plausible, given the calendars that we're looking at in iPad Go 2. So that's interesting and worth noting. But I'm not going to pick a date off this. That's just, people have been looking at that number for 20 years probably. I'm not expecting to figure out anything really spectacular here after all that time. But do keep in mind, though, that what it does show is the buck moon comes, the buck rabbit shows up, and he doesn't say, the end of the world's here. I am the end of the world. I've come. He's saying, I'm here, and I'm the warning, and I'm going to tell you how to survive to the end of the world. You have this many days left. Now let's figure it out. Okay? And so I think that's noteworthy. So continuing, like I said, while he was talking to Donnie, that's when either while or just after, that's when the jet engine crashes into their home and breaks it up. Now Donnie, meanwhile, falls asleep out on the golf course because he sleepwalks and falls asleep wherever he ends up. And when he wakes up, we get another repetition of the symbolism. Look closely. Here's what he wakes up to. This doctor, I believe the doctor, comes over and he wakes him up. Now, we have the sun here lighting up the back of the doctor's head. What I think we're looking at here, as I understand it, probably he's representing the solar eclipse. So that'd be your June 21st. The Patrick Swayze character, Jim Cunningham, comes in and he blocks out Sirius, meaning that now July 3rd comes, right? July 3rd to July 5th, that's when Sirius disappears to the buck moon. And then we see him looking down at his arm to see that same period. Now, the 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, 12 seconds. So we get it again. This is a repetition. It's after you get to the blocking out of Sirius in early July that you get the countdown to when the events actually happen. It doesn't happen on those dates. Now, if you want to look at it the other way, like say, oh, here's the eclipse and this is Sirius, that's fine. It's still the same. They're trying to communicate the same symbol. But to my mind, I think what we're saying is the eclipse that comes first, and then the blocking out of Sirius next. But neither here nor there. The point is the same. We get the symbol, and then we get the time. And that is where I'll end for part one. And this just gets us started. There is so much more in Donnie Darko that we're going to be able to dig into and look into and understand. And it'll help us understand the big picture with iPetGoat 2 as well, and not just from here to the next couple of years. This is going to go all the way back to 2001, and we're going to see programming that has shown in this video what I believe to be predictive programming that picked out hurricanes by name and specific terrorist attacks by date periods that have already happened that show that it's actually pretty accurate so far. Okay, we've clearly the 9/11 plane crashing into the building. I had that as we already saw when it goes to October 2nd, the date of the plane crash in Donnie Darko. Down below, the time was 9 minutes and 11 seconds in a film released on 1/19/2001. Okay, so that's what I have so far, and we're going to keep digging in. So let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all that. Thanks a lot. Take care.